I've been doing speaking gigs on car seat safety and baby gear for well over a decade, and without fail, at every single event, someone will raise their hand and be like, my child, when they fall asleep, their head slumps in the car. It looks uncomfortable. It seems dangerous. Is this the case? So obviously, a lot of people have a concern about this. Well, don't worry. Holly and I are here to answer your questions.
Head slump is both a huge problem and not a problem at all. Back under letter F, we talked about why the angle was so important for baby's airway. Remember, the angle keeps their head back and supported. Before babies can sit upright unassisted, they typically don't have enough tone in the muscles of their head and neck to hold their head upright. If they don't have that tone and their airway becomes compromised, they can't act on any instinct to correct it. Because their head carries about 30% of their body weight, they're very top heavy. So if they are seated too upright, it's easy for the chin to drop to the chest. However, once a child can sit upright unsupported, this is typically no longer an issue. Because if their chin does drop to their chest and their airway becomes compromised, they can easily pick their head up, even if they're asleep. This looks super uncomfortable to us, but for a toddler that can sit upright unassisted, they can easily pick their head up. Also remember that children can sleep in a corner on the floor and wake up and just continue living their best life, and if we did that as adults, we would be wrecked. This is why getting that recline just right, especially for newborns, is so important. Typically for newborns, the easiest way to prevent this is to have the car seat as reclined as allowed in their user manual. Ensure that they are tightly harnessed. Make sure that the crotch buckle is super snug against them. This will prevent slouching and anything that they can slump into. And if your car seat came with any support cushions, double check when they're required, when they're not required. Anything related to that will be in the user manual. Also remember that a head turned to the side is just fine for breathing. When a baby is sleeping in their crib or when we're holding them against our chest, typically their head will be turned sideways and that gives them a nice clear airway. This is what we want to avoid. So while it does make us nervous when we see our children doing this, if they can sit upright unassisted, this is typically not an issue, but double check the rules around the recline angles for your car seat. If you are concerned, you can always reach out to the car seat manufacturer for guidance.
Many years ago, I put a photo of my very young nephew, Grayson, in a click forward-facing and used my sister's bra to hold his head back in his seat, as you can see in this photo. Now, clearly in the caption, I stated this was a joke and things like this are not necessary and they're not safe, and that head slump, in a child that has proper head and neck control is not really a concern. But there are a lot of products like this on the market now. They're unregulated, they're not crash tested. People make them on Etsy and sell them. Do not use these products. They are not safe. There is no need for them. You should never restrain a child's head back into their car seat. So to sum it up, check that angle, make sure it's correct. Check that harness, make sure it's tight enough and make sure it's in the proper position. And if your child has good head and neck control and they have that tone, head slump in a car seat is not really anything to be concerned about.